I really need to get back to doing homework, but I wanted to upload another video and just talk a little bit about this project and what I'm doing and how I'm doing it and stuff. Um, so as you can see, I've added water, support for transparency. That's a pretty big step. I had to kind of do a lot of stuff to make that work. Um, I had to redo the meshing algorithm because there was this issue where on the edges of chunks, when the mesher would try to read the blocks outside of its own chunk, um, to determine whether or not to put edges there or not, it would always read 0 even if there really were blocks there. So what that meant was in between all the chunks, um, and normally you couldn't see this because you'd have to fly into the world to see it, but you would see like these just boundaries between the chunks, and that was really bad because it also meant that if I tried to do something like this transparent water, that you'd see like flat planes of water in between all the chunks, if that kind of makes sense. So basically, I just kind of redid the mesher. I also had to make it so that way the water mesh is separate from the solid blocks mesh because it otherwise the game's gonna have a lot of trouble with the render order of transparent stuff. It's kind of, I don't think that the way I have it set up right now is the best way to do it for sure, because there's still some weird edge cases and stuff, but for now it looks fine. This world's pretty freaking huge. It's like a 2048 by 2048 world, and it's 512 blocks tall. The whole thing is just loaded in at once. I still don't have any dynamic loading as you move around, but that'll be added quite soon. Um, but yeah, I'm just really happy with the fact that this is running so smoothly on my MacBook. I feel like if this was Minecraft, there's no way it'd be running this well. I mean, obviously Minecraft has a lot more things to deal with, a lot of entity processing and ticking, but rendering wise, this is pretty good for having no LOD system. And I know there's so many things wrong with my rendering code that it could be so much more optimized. I'm gonna work on it, but I'm definitely happy with this result so far. I just gotta add dynamic chunk loading for like not just infinite worlds, but just much larger worlds that are just too big to render all at once. I'm gonna have to mess around with multi-threading to make that work though. And I've already messed around with multi-threading a little bit with the world creation screen, but I've just kind of been thinking about how I'm gonna make it work with like generating new chunks or like loading new chunks to from a file, saving chunks to a file as you unload them. Also, like, are there some chunks that we maybe want to keep loaded in memory, but just don't render them, just so that way it's kind of faster to bring them back up and we don't use up too much disk. Like, maybe we have like a max loaded memory amount and we don't really start unloading chunks out of memory onto the disk, unless that max memory amount kind of gets taken up. I don't know. But yeah, that's about it, I guess.